Recording.
Good morning, class. Hope my screen is visible and I am audible.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So we are working on the first unit till today. Very few parts remaining from the first chapter that we could able to complete today only, and then we will proceed for one test. And if time permits, we will start with the chapter 2. So let's quickly revise what are the points we have covered so far. We have started with subject introduction, that is software engineering, why there is need to go to study the software engineering. Then we have discussed the basic idea about what is software, definition of the software, that we said software is nothing but it is just a simple collection of programs plus set of associated documents. So whatever the instructions we have collected, instructions we are combining to form as a program, and collection of programs plus associated documents, we will call it as a software. So once we are able to know the software, then we have discussed the basic difference between the software and hardware. Then we have discussed why there is need to go for study the software engineering subject. Then while we are studying the software engineering, what are the probable challenges over there, and then how to achieve the software engineering through different approach. That part we have discussed as a software engineering approach. So simply what we said, whenever there is a need to go for the software, we need to think about the software development life cycle. We simply call it as what? SDLC. Then to develop the software, we need to follow the different steps. What are the different steps? The first steps I'm calling as simply analysis, then designing, then coding, then testing, then deployment. The deployment is nothing but maintenance. So anyhow, we need to think about these 5 different steps: analysis, designing, coding, testing, and deployment. So these all 5 steps plays an important role. Then we have discussed what is software process. As the name suggests, process is nothing but it tells us what to do, how to do, when to do, to reach at a certain goal. Whenever I'm thinking to develop the software, I need to follow the process. To understand the process, we have discussed the basic idea telling us about the way what we can develop is what we can say that suppose I'm thinking to work on one of the project. So to develop the project or to work on the project, you need to follow the process, and when you follow the process, the result will be in your hand. We are calling it as a part of a product, or maybe as a part of a process service. So the company may be a service based or company may be a product based. So based on that different scenarios, we can think whether the company is a service based company or whether the company is a product based company. So for that, we need to understand the nature of the company. Then whether the company is a product based or a company is a project based, based on that we need to think about the process. So that is a direct relationship between the what we can say, which product you are working, and based on that which process you are going to apply. So we need to define the relationship between the project and the process. That part we will discuss. Then we have discussed, once we are aware about the process, as we said, process is nothing but what? It tells us what to do, how to do, when to do, to reach at a certain goal. So from my starting point to end point, whatever the actions I am going to take, that actions are related to each other. Output of one action will be considered as an input for another action, and based on this entire scenario, we need to discuss the different project parts. So while we are discussing with these different project parts, we need to think about whether that process is possible to implement for my project or not. If yes, what will be the essential parts, what will be the total duration, and whether that project implementation is possible for me or not. So like this, we need to think about the characteristics of the software process. So we said that the different characteristics of the process that we can say as the process must be easy to understand. The process must be easy to understand, as well as the process must be what we can say, the process must be able to understand to the entire project team also. So we need to think with the perspective that once I started to implement the project, whether it is possible for me to reach to the destination or not. If not, whether the process supports reversible or not. The process must be repeatable, whether whatever the process you are planning to implement supports the repeatability or not. Repeatability in the sense what we say, if I assign the task to someone else, whether he or she is able to complete it or not, then process must be predictable. Predictable means while we are thinking to implement it, we could able to guess the performance, we could able to expect the outcome, whether that process supports predictability or not. That is also one of the important part. Then next part, we said that the process must support testability and maintainability. So whatever the testing project scenarios you are working, एकच मिनिट, सगळ्यांना पाठवलं ना तिकडे जांभरे सर, भातलोंडे सरांच्या केबिनला? नाही नाही, सगळ्यांनाच जायला सांगा, सगळे ऑल स्टाफ. फक्त ज्यांचं लेक्चर आहे त्यांचं फक्त थांबू दे, बाकीच्यांना सगळ्यांना जायला सांगितलं अर्जंट. So when we says that the product, whatever the project you are working with respect to that project, it must support testability and maintainability. So it means whatever the project you are working with respect to that project, you should able to complete the testing scenario. All the aspects you could able to perform the testing. Testing, what is testing? We have discussed in detail. So it must support what we can say, input is given, whether the expected outcome is or not. The process is divided into different parts, and the different parts should be able to integrate. So it must support it. That is what we are calling as a testability. Then we have discussed maintainability. Maintainability means maintenance. Now maintenance means what? You have developed the product and you have given the product to the end user, and while some feedback is received, based on the feedback you want to do some modifications, whether your product allows you to go for the modifications or not. Accordingly, your process also must support you that you could able to carry out the that characteristics we are calling as a maintainability. Then we have discussed early defect removal and defect prevention. Again, it is related to the testing part. Your product, see, if I am looking for the software development life cycle, it works like simply as analysis, designing, coding, testing. So testing comes very later. After analysis, designing is there. After designing, coding is there, and after coding, testing is coming. So if something goes wrong and the testing is very lateral stage, so I want to start testing at the earliest. So as soon as I complete analysis, I could able to start my testing. So for that, I need to start the early testing. So this is what early defect removal and defect prevention. This must be supported in your process, and always remember that the process must be closed process. Now closed process is what? In which you are taking the feedback, and received feedback will help you to improve the performance. That is what process improvement and the feedback. These are desirable characteristics of the software process, which we discussed in the last lecture. Then we have started with the software development process models. These process models will be discussed. Means this is simply what we can say the software development life cycle. We call simply as a SDLC. So the different phases of the SDLC are nothing but analysis, designing, coding, testing, and deployment. Now, once this process has been defined, we can discuss it into the different modules, and the different modules will be like, first module I am saying as a waterfall model. Second, so waterfall model, as the name suggests, waterfall model is nothing but simply what we say, just like moving the or arranging the higher levels towards the lower level. So the first phase of your software development lifecycle, I'm calling simply analysis, then designing, then coding, testing, and deployment. So I'm just simply arranging these orders in a linear orders, and this linear order simply follows your the waterfall scenario. So I'm calling this model as a waterfall model. Example we have discussed of this launching of your WhatsApp. Then we have discussed advantages and disadvantages of waterfall model. Then we have discussed the next model called as what prototype model. As the name suggests, prototype means two parties, one as a developer, means one as a software engineer, and one as an end user. They are trying to interact with each other. So what you understood as a developer or as a software engineer from customer side, so based on that you start immediately working on it, and once it is approved by the end user, okay, I'm looking for this product, then you start to implement the next model. This is what we are calling as a prototype model. Example I said to you to remember the prototype model is when you are planning to purchase the jewelry. When you are in the gold shop and you are asking for the jewelry, the person, the salesperson at the jewelry shop interacts with you and first decides the weight of jewelry. So 10 gram, 15 gram, 20 gram. So the first part they formalize is what you are looking for: gold, which type of a gold, and what is expected weight you are looking for, what is the budget. Like that they prepares the prototype, and once the prototype is finalized, they shows you, okay, in this for example, in 10 gram I have this necklace, in 12 gram I have this necklace. And once the weight is finalized, based on whatever availability he tries to show you, and we try to interact, and based on the interactions we able to finalize the deal. So this is the scenario it is working. Then we have discussed the next module, that is iterative approach. And in iterative approach, what we say is, as the name suggests, iterative means it is kind of a repetitive task. The same thing we are going to do, but it in a repetitive manner. And in a repetitive manner, we are getting the results very fast. Rather than waiting for the entire project scenario, what I will do, I will divide the project into different modules, and based on the different modules, I will select one of the module, and with respect to that module, I will implement the complete software development life cycle. So simply what I say is, then whatever the thing as a part of a project you are looking for, if you are remembering, I said to you, remember the simple example of calculator. That calculator model is imagine made up of 4 modules. The first is addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So concentrate on one module at a time. For example, addition. So with respect to addition module, I will complete analysis, designing, coding, and testing. I will show the test results to the customer. If customer is happy, I will go for the next module, that is subtraction. With respect to subtraction, I will complete analysis, designing, coding, and testing for subtraction. And then I will integrate these two modules, addition and subtraction. Now I will repeat this process to get my entire project parts. So this is I'm calling as a simply iterative approach. And this is simply it. What we are getting in the iterative approach is incremental model, then spiral model, then RUP, that is rational unified process model. Up to this we have covered. Now today we are going to focus on remaining two models, that is time box model and agile process model. So incremental model we have simply discussed that in incremental model each iteration brings us one module for us, and while we are going for the next module, we will try to integrate the previously developed module with that module, and we will combine these two modules, and then we will go for the next module. Like this we have to work with the remaining scenarios. So this is what the way we will go for the incremental model. After the incremental model, we have discussed the name as a spiral model. This is again a very important model. It is also known as a Bohem model, as the name of the scientist who has invented this. He said that we need to think about the 4 scenarios what we can say vertical and horizontal as well. We can think about this while we are defining. So he has said that while we are working with our regular software development life cycle, we will add some multiple dimensions to the software development life cycle, and that multiple dimensions are in the terms of what we can say 4 different quadrants. So what are that 4 different quadrants? If we see like this, first quadrant, second, third, and fourth. So while we are in that particular quadrant, we will think about each and every aspects assigned to that quadrant. If you remember, these 4 quadrants represent in 4 different colors. Each quadrant has its meaning, and whether that meaning is achieved or not, then and then only we will go for the next quadrant, and this process will be repeated in every iteration. So it is also a part of an iterative model. And what are that 4 different quadrants? We said that simply quadrant 1 objectives, quadrant 2 objectives, 3 and 4. So each quadrant has a different objectives, whether that objectives are achieved or not. If not, the process will be repeated. This is what simply your spiral model. Then we have discussed when to use the spiral model, what are the advantages of the spiral model and disadvantages of the spiral model. Then we have discussed with the next model, that is RUP, which stands for Rational Unified Process Model. Now, what does this Rational Unified Process Model? It is again iterative model. It is again iterative, means repetitive model. So what I'm going to do, again, it is going to repeat the entire software development life cycle, but the part of repetition here is divided into 4 different scenarios. What are that 4 different scenarios? These are simply we are calling as what? Inception, elaboration, construction, and transition. If you are remembering the diagram. So this is simply your iterative module is represented in 4 different steps or 4 different scenarios. The first step is inception. Now, as the name suggests, inception means you will try to understand what your end user, what your customer, or whoever the party is looking, be in touch with them, understand what they are expecting. So that is inception. Second is elaboration. Elaboration means enlarge it. Means from your side, try to think in the end perspective, whether what will be an extension for this, like this means what you suppose you understand the smallest part from means customer said only one thing to you, but with respect to that, think in the different perspectives, analyze each and everything, so that we will able to understand in entire thorough process. So I'm calling this simply as an elaboration. And once elaboration is done, we will go for its implementation. That implementation I'm calling here as a construction. So construct means build, prepare the product. Once the product is ready, go for the testing. Show the test results to the end user. If results are okay, accepted by the end user, hand over the product to the customer. That is transition. So this is what your RUP. So RUP works with the simple 4 scenarios. That is inception, elaboration, construction, and transition. In inception, what you are doing, idea for the project is stated. The development team determines the project is worth pursuing and what resources will be needed. So in this inception, we will think in that perspective, who is the end user, what are the expectations from the end user, and we will understand it. In elaboration, as the name suggests, elaboration means we will evaluate it in a further details. Lot of details we will try to thoroughly we will understand what customer is said, and once we understood in the all perspective, in all angles, we will start implementation. That implementation is construction. And in construction, once the product is ready, we will go for testing. If test results are okay, we will go for the product handover to the user. That is called as what? Transition. So this is about the rational unified process. Simply remember the 4 steps in a proper sequence. Here the sequence is important. Inception, elaboration, construction, and transition. Simply remember IECT. RUP is equal to IECT. So that in future, if they ask you the steps, you can easily draw the diagram and you can able to discuss the scenario. So any doubt regarding RUP? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now we will move towards the next model, that is called as what? Time boxing model. As the name suggests, time boxing model. Whatever the models we have discussed so far, For that, we were just a bit worried about only the completion of that activity. So suppose, I'll show you. Just a second, I'll show you. So earlier what we said, I will first complete my analysis step. Then I will start to work with a simple next part called as what, as a next part I will work with as a designing phase, like this. So no one is bit worried how much time you are going to take to complete for the analysis phase. We were just thinking about whether we are going to complete this activity or not. But during this time boxing, we will think about the different scenarios, what we can say, like input. I'm working about this input. Then I will think about the output. Then I will think about the resource person. Okay. So just on screen now you can able to see that whenever I'm thinking about implementation of analysis phase at the first level, I need to think about the time frame, how much time it is required to complete the analysis phase. For example, I am saying that I will complete the activity. To complete the activity, I need 2 weeks. So that 2 week plays an important role to complete the analysis phase. Then when I think about the designing phase, designing activity, I need to think again the time, how much time you require to complete the design activity. So again, I am saying that it will require again 2 weeks. So to complete the design activity, I need again 2 weeks. Again, I need input. Input will be definitely from the analysis phase. Okay. So apart from this, I also need resource person, manpower, rather we can say in simply manpower. I need some resources who will work as a designer. So I need manpower also. And then when I think about the next stage, that is, I can say after designing, I'm thinking to work with the coding part. So in the coding, for example, I say I will work with the coding phase, actual development. For that, suppose I'm saying that I need total duration as 4 weeks to complete the project, and I need resource person. Suppose I need 10 manpower as a team. So I need 10 manpower, and input for my complete coding will be considered as a design output. So, okay. So see here, what I'm saying that when I'm thinking to work with the entire project scenario, if I'm going to start my coding, the precondition to start the coding is what? Your design must be completed. Your analysis must be completed. Without completion of this, you cannot start with the coding. Getting what I'm saying? So such a type of problems we need to discuss well in advance, and to solve their problems, we need to think about one more scenario. And that scenario is simply when we think about development of the software development life cycle in time box model. As the name suggests, the time box model simply tell us completion of that activity within stipulated time, whatever the time you think. Suppose 1 week, 2 week, or 1 day, 2 day, 1 hour, 2 hour, whatever the time you are calculating based on the complexity of that activity, you have to complete that activity in given time. That is what the time box model. So first, here what we will do, we will divide the activity in parallel parts, means analysis, designing, coding, thinking, based on the specific, means the entire project you have, that project you have divided it into different parts. So for that particular part, suppose I am thinking as a calculator. Now with respect to calculator, I have my first module, for example, again as an analysis, sorry, as an addition. Now with respect to addition module, what you will do, you will think about implementation, but before going for the implementation, you have to think about analysis, you have to think about the designing. So how much time you are going to take for that? Then you need to think about the next module, that is what, time box second module. So time box one module will be for my first module, tb2, that is time box for the second module, tb3 may be for your third module. So for each module you will design the time frame. So simply remember, in time box modeling, what we are doing, we are dividing the different project into different modules, and for each module we will assign the time frame, and expected part is to complete the project in the given time frame. And if we are lagging, it may hamper with other modules also. So entire planning of the project will be done with respect to your time box model. So it plays a very important role. So simply see here, in time box model, development is done iteratively. Again, why iteratively? Because repetition in the iterative enhancement model. However, in the time boxing model, each iteration is done in a time box of fixed duration. In the earlier model, whatever we have studied so far, we not think about the time completion, means start time and end time. We have to decide for each activity whether that activity started on the given time or not. If not, why there is a delay, and it is expected to complete the activity within the time, given the time. For example, suppose today, Saturday, we have divided the time frame that our college will start at 9:30 and will end at 4:30. So you have given the time box whether your lecture is started at 9:30 or not. So for example, software engineering, you have given the first frame, that is 9:30 to 11:30. Whether the activity started exactly at 9:30 or not, whether it is ended at 11:30 or not, that part will be observed. Lecture started on time, no problem. Lecture ended on time, no problem. If it is extended, it is, suppose it is expected to complete the lecture at 11:30, but suppose I have taken lecture up to 11:45, which is also not allowed. Why? You have to fix with the durations, whatever the time frame assigned to you, anyhow you have to follow it. If lagging, means you have not followed the time, lagging, or if you have extended, means you have taken the extra time, then also it is a problematic, both the cases. So we are calling as a slack. Positive slack, negative slack has to be get identified, and we need to think why there was such cases, so that in the next scenario it should not happen like this. So for that, time boxing plays an important role. So each time box is simply divided into the sequence of fixed stages, whatever the software development lifecycle phases we have studied so far. Based on that, we can think like this. So entire software is divided into different modules like analysis, designing, for example, when I think about the calculator software, is divided into different modules like addition module, subtraction module. If I show here, you can able to see. So this software module I am suppose defined as a calculator, and this calculator having different modules like addition. Then I have one module as a subtraction. Then I have one module as a multiplication and one more module as a division. So just imagine this calculator I had divided into 4 modules. So first module addition, I will think about this addition module. So this addition module, with respect to addition module, I will decide as a first time box. Then for the time box 2 will be for my second module, that is subtraction. This will be my third as a multiplication. So with respect to these three different modules, for example, with respect to diagram, we have time box frame 1, 2, and 3. So with respect to first module, your activity will be the same as the previous software development modules you have studied, like analysis, designing, coding, and testing. So anyhow, you have to carry out these all activities in the given time span. And once this activity is done, then and then only you need to think about the next. That is what when we says about moving towards the next activity. That is what time boxing model. ह्याच्यामध्ये लक्षात ठेवण्यासारखी एकच महत्वाची गोष्ट आहे की आपण जे काही सॉफ्टवेअर डेव्हलपमेंट लाईफ सायकल करणार आहोत त्या प्रत्येक प्रत्येक मॉड्यूल साठी आपल्याला टाइम बॉक्स फिक्स करावे लागेल आणि त्या टाइम बॉक्स मध्येच ते मॉड्यूल आपल्याला कंप्लीट करावं लागेल जेणेकरून जे आपल्या प्रोजेक्ट डेव्हलपमेंटचा महत्वाचा पार्ट होता की टाइमलाईन प्रोजेक्ट जर तुमचा दिलेल्या टाइम मध्येच कंप्लीट झाला तरच तो प्रोजेक्ट आपण काय झाला म्हणू शकतो सक्सेस झाला म्हणू शकतो आतापर्यंतच्या कुठल्याच मॉड्यूल मध्ये आपण टाइम फॅक्टर कन्सिडर करत नव्हतो इथे आपल्याला प्रत्येक ऍक्टिव्हिटीसाठी आपल्याला काय द्यायचंय टाइम द्यायचंय म्हणून ह्याला म्हणतात टाइम बॉक्सिंग मॉडेल इज दिस पार्ट क्लिअर हॅलो
Yes, sir.
ओके what are the advantages of the time boxing model as the name suggests as the time comes means deadlines come as the deadline comes means we can able to start the speed up activities so being as a deadline so when we know that today is the deadline or tomorrow is the deadline definitely we will try to complete the task at the earliest which help us to speed up the development process and we suited to develop the project with a number of features in the short time period advantages what we are getting we could able to manage the project within the given time and the most important part is we are getting the scope very limited scope for the iterations sorry because of the short duration of the project disadvantages we can say that project management becomes more complex why because again the time frame there is a pressure that you have to complete the activity within this time so that pressures becomes a problem for the entire managements and such type of a module will not be suited in the entire development work as multiple teams are working and following the same time suppose one of the team is working in New York and one of the team is working in Chennai India their work culture is different their working timings are different their time bounds are different and if you are working in this scenario may not be helpful for the different teams because their locations are different geographical locations are different their time bounds their time frames are again different in that case the time boxing model creates a problem so these are the disadvantages with time boxing model so any doubt regarding the time boxing model anyone diagram is in front of you any problem am I audible
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
okay. No doubt there regarding time boxing model
No, sir.
okay then we will go for the next module that is called as what agile model as the name suggests agile now what is the dictionary meaning of the agile means simply I can say dynamic agile means simply I can say dynamic so to understand the term as a dynamic what is a similar word we can say to understand the dynamic again anyone
Versatile or flexible.
okay very good very good I was looking for this flexibility one of the word that we can say flexibility means what is required on that particular time with respect to that time or with respect to that condition, not only time, with respect to that condition, you adjust immediately into the project scenario to fulfill the end user's need. I'm calling this simply as a agile modeling. Getting? So dynamic means simply what we can say, one word is fixed. One word is fixed means whatever the situation, whatever there is a demand, I will not understood, but whatever task given to me, I will complete it. That is fixed scenario. And second is dynamic scenario. In dynamic scenario, what you are doing, what customer is saying or what end user is saying or what is the condition at that moment. So what will be the best that you can do based on that condition you behaves, we call it as what, agile model. अंडरस्टँड दिस. बघा मी काय म्हणतो लक्षात येते का, दोन अप्रोच आहेत. एक अप्रोच काय सांगते की तुमची स्टँडर्ड प्रोसेस ठरलेली ती तुम्ही फॉलो करायची. मग सिच्युएशन काही का असे ना, समोरचा काय विचारतोय काय करतोय त्याच्याशी मला देणं घेणं नाही, माझी प्रोसेस ठरलेली ती मी फॉलो करणार. दॅट इज व्हॉट फिक्स्ड. सेकंड दुसरा अप्रोच काय सांगतोय, तुम्ही काम करताय नो डाऊट यू विल फॉलो व्हॉट एव्हर रूल्स रेग्युलेशन सेट टू यू, यू विल फॉलो इट. पण ते रूल्स रेग्युलेशन फॉलो करताना तुम्ही प्रत्येक गोष्टीनंतर कस्टमरशी इंटरॅक्ट करताय, तुम्ही एंड युजरला इंटरॅक्शन करताय, त्याच्याकडून फीडबॅक घेताय आणि तो फीडबॅक घेऊन तुम्ही तुमच्या नेक्स्ट प्रोसेसमध्ये इम्प्लिमेंट करताय आणि नेक्स्ट प्रोसेस तुम्ही कंटिन्युअसली इम्प्रूव्ह करत जाताय. हे कुठपर्यंत, जोपर्यंत तुमचा एंड युजर हॅपी होत नाही. आणि ही प्रोसेस तुम्ही रिपीट करत जाताय. म्हणजे फक्त end users nahi, everyone in the team who is involved, you consider the environment, you consider the work culture, everything you take into the consideration and then you start project implementation. That I am calling simply as a agile process model. आता हे दोन अप्रोच मी तुम्हाला सांगितले, ह्या दोन मध्ये तुम्हाला नक्कीच अजाइलचा काही ऍडव्हान्टेजेस मिळतात, काही डिसएडव्हान्टेज पण मिळतात. का तर प्रोसेस तुमची लेंदी होत जाते, पण प्रोसेस जरी लेंदी झाली तरी तुम्हाला जे पाहिजेत कस्टमरला तेच तुम्ही तिथं द्यायचा प्रयत्न करताय. म्हणून अजाइलचे रिझल्ट आपल्याला सुपर फास्ट मिळू शकतील. सो जस्ट हॅव अ क्विक लुक टू द डायग्राम अँड देन आय विल एक्सप्लेन. हा सर बोला की. एक जण पण आला ना इथून, तर सगळे गेलेत सर. भात लावंडे सरांच्या केबिनला एकच मिनिट, एकच. Just a second. So what agile model is saying to us, so when we are working with the agile model, we will think to starting the project scenario. The project scenario works with the different phases. So what are the different phases? Like your analysis, designing, coding, testing. So this every iteration I'm thinking to implement as a terms of a sprint. So sprint 1, sprint 2, sprint 3. In RUP we said inception, elaboration, construction and transition for whole project. Here what we will do, again the same process we will think for the one particular module, and with respect to that module we will think about the simply sprint. So for sprint 1, sprint 2 and sprint 3. In sprint 1 we will think about the plan, designing, coding, testing and review. The one word is added here as a review. Now what happens in case of this review? What happens in case of this review? This review will help us what we did is up to the mark or not. If okay, we will ask the customer whether it is okay or not. If okay, then we will go for the next sprint. So this process will be repeated to achieve the expected result. So this is what simply we are calling as a agile modeling. Getting what I'm saying? So same process is there. Whatever we are thinking, the same process will be implemented. You can think with this diagram or this diagram. So simply remember this diagram only, which will helping us to divide the whole development of the software into different sprints. SPRINT. The meaning of the sprint is one, what we can say, one clock notations, like that. So in one clock notations, we will able to complete the entire activity with respect to that module. So module 1, one sprint, module 2, second, module 3. Okay, and each sprint is integrating with your previous modules, so that whatever the end you are getting, whatever the end results you are getting, that end results will helpful you to achieve the expected parts. So I'm calling this simply as an agile process model. इथे एवढंच लक्षात ठेवा की काय आहे, तर पूर्ण तुमचं डायनामिक इम्प्लिमेंटेशन आहे. आणि ह्या डायनामिक इम्प्लिमेंटेशनचा फायदा काय होतो आपल्याला, तर जे काही रिक्वायरमेंट्स म्हणजे ऍज अ डेव्हलपर टीम म्हणून तुम्ही केलेलं काम आणि एंड युजरला दाखवताय, एंड युजर कडनं रिव्ह्यू घेताय, तुम्ही रिव्ह्यू मध्ये जर काही सजेशन्स आले तर ते इमिजिएटली तुम्ही इम्प्लिमेंट करताय. सेकंड स्प्रिंटला जायच्या आधीच तुम्ही इम्प्लिमेंट करताय, ते परत ओके म्हणल्यानंतरच तुम्ही पुढच्या पार्टला जाताय. अदरवाइज यू स्टे ट्यून टू युअर scenario. That is what the advantages we are getting inside the agile model. It is again similar to the RUP, but only the implementation method is somewhat different, and that somewhat different means the way you think to implement is different. That is the part. So this is the advantages while you are getting in the agile method. As the name suggests, dynamic आहे, त्यामुळे immediate frequent delivery you can able to get, face to face communication with the client, because most of the activities in the dynamic model, agile model, you are looking for the reviews from the end users. याचा एक दुसरा डिसएडवांटेज पण होतोय. काय होतोय तो, डेफिनेटली युअर प्रोसेस बिकम्स अगेन द लेंथी, बिकॉज you will wait for each and everything to get the review from the end users. So that is again a kind of a disadvantages, but disadvantages compared to the advantages is good in achieving the target. So we will think about agile implementation. And nowadays, if you take help of any IT industry or any big MNCs, they have started implementing with the agile modeling only, because there is a lot of scope for the agile modeling, agile implementations. So advantages, disadvantages, you can think about this. So just have a quick look again. This is the way you think about implementation of agile model. You start as an analysis phase, analysis. This is your designing phase. This is your development, that is coding phase. Quality assurance means your testing phase. If test results okay, you will go for the maintenance, that is deployment phase. So analysis, designing, coding, testing. So this is again the same way you can think like this. So this is what you are simply analysis. This is your regular design phase. This is development, I'm calling as a coding phase. This is quality assurance, I'm calling it as a testing phase, deployment. Okay. So you will repeat this process, no doubt. There will be a continuous repetition of this process, starting with your analysis, then designing, then to the coding, then to the testing, and to the deployment. If test results are okay, you will take review. So I will take the review here. So I'll add here review. If review okay, then I will go for again implementation. So up to one review, I will call this simply as a sprint 1. And this process I will be continuously reviewing. This process I will be continuously repeating, rather I can say. Why? To achieve my expected results. So whatever the modules you have in your project, so for each module you will have a separate sprint, and at the end you will integrate, you will combine the different sprints to achieve your target. So that is what we are saying as a agile model. So is this part clear? Any doubts so far regarding the agile method? Am I audible? My screen is visible.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So any doubt regarding agile method so far?
No, sir.
Okay. Done. Advantages, disadvantages, when to use the agile model. Then coming to the next, actually you are the next model we are discussing is a DevOps model. It is not in your syllabus. Listen what I'm saying. It is not in your syllabus, but most of the company has started implementation. So I'm telling you as a DevOps, as the name suggests, DevOps means development operation. So development operation again focusing on your software development life cycle. So this DevOps model help us what different they does. So you can see here the DevOps model simply help us to making the entire scenario live to the end user. आतापर्यंत कसं होतंय, अनालिसिस टीम दुसरीकडे आहे, तुमची डिझायनर्स टीम दुसरीकडे आहे, डेव्हलपमेंट टीम तुमची दुसरीकडे आहे. एंड युजर्स इंटरॅक्शन कोण करते? एंड युजर्स इंटरॅक्शन फक्त तुमची फर्स्ट टीम दॅट इज अनालिसिस टीम करते, कारण कंटिन्युअसली कस्टमरशी ते इंटरॅक्शन करतायत. इथं काय होतंय, डेव्हऑप्स टीमला प्रत्येक गोष्ट तुम्ही लाईव्ह करताय, म्हणजे अनालिस्ट टीमला पण कळते तुमच्या टेस्टरने काय केलेलं आहे, तुमच्या डेव्हलपरने काय केलेलं आहे, आणि इमिजिएटली ते तुम्ही एंड युजरला दाखवताय. म्हणून ह्याला म्हणतायत डेव्हऑप्स. कंटिन्युअसली तुमचे डेव्हलपमेंटचे ऑपरेशन्स जे आहेत विजिबल्स आहेत, स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम युअर प्लॅनिंग टू युअर एक्झिक्युशन इन सिंक्रोनाइज्ड मॅनर. म्हणजे कंटिन्युअसली एकाचं काम झालं की लगेच दुसऱ्याचं झालं की तिसऱ्याचं, म्हणजे अनालिसिसचं झालं की डिझायनरचं झालं की डेव्हलपर्सचं झालं की टेस्टर्स झालं की तो कस्टमरला दाखवेल, कस्टमरकडनं फीडबॅक घेईल आणि इमिजिएटली नेक्स्ट मॉड्यूलला मूव्ह करेल. म्हणजे ही तुमची जी डेव्हलपमेंटची टीम जी आहे ती एवढी इंटिग्रेट केलेली आहे, त्यांनी एवढं सॉफ्टवेअर मध्ये सिंक केलेली आहे. एक स्मॉल चेंज म्हणजे अनालिसिसची एक रिक्वायरमेंट जरी चेंज झाली तरी तुमच्या डिझायनरला, तुमच्या डेव्हलपरला आणि तुमच्या टेस्टरला काय काय चेंजेस करायचे हे इमिजिएटली तिथे रिफ्लेक्ट होतात आणि ते चेंजेस तुम्ही तुमच्या प्रोडक्ट मध्ये करून घेताय. दॅट इज व्हॉट द डेव्हऑप्स ऑपरेशन. दॅट्स व्हाय द प्रेझेंट सिनारो इज वर्किंग ऑन द डेव्हलपमेंट वर्किंग सिनारो. जस्ट हॅव अ क्विक लुक. सिलेबसला नाहीये तुम्हाला, बट what I feel is that you must aware about this, so I am showing you. Just have a quick look. Are you getting DevOps models? So this is, as the name suggests, continuously remember integration parts of your every aspects of your software development life cycle. From whoever is involved will be integrated, will be synced in a parallel manner, so that small change cannot be what we can say easily accepted, and that small change will be reflected immediately in your end products. That's why the DevOps models nowadays are famous and mostly used in the industries. So that's all about the first chapter. Any doubts so far? Please let me know. Yes, anyone? Any doubts so far regarding the first chapter, whatever the points we have discussed so far? Just have a quick look to the syllabus also. We are done. If any point missing from the syllabus, that also please let me know. Any point that you would like to repeat, let me know. I will repeat. I'm waiting for some feedback from your side, your inputs, your reflection.
Sir, one doubt.
Yes, yes.
So while selecting the model, what criteria do they take in?
Okay. Just a second. Just a second. हा सर क्लासमध्ये होतो, बोला की सर. हो दिलंय की एकच मिनिट. सगळ्यांना तिथे जायला सांगा. सरांचा फोन आला. नाही गेले म्हणतात तिथं. साळे सर सगळे गेले. नाही पाठवा त्यांना. तिथलं काम त्यांना म्हणा आल्यानंतर करा. नाही सगळ्यांना जाऊ दे. साळुंके मॅडम जाऊ दे, आप्पा शिंदे सर एक्झाम मध्ये आणि ज्यांचं लेक्चर आहे त्यांना थांबू दे. बाकीच्या सगळ्यांना 1 तास खाली बोलवलं म्हणून सांगा.
ही दोनच राहत बाकी
नाही जाऊ दे, सगळ्यांना जाऊ दे. आणि तिथे गेले की झांबरे सरांना मला फोन करायला सांगा म्हणून सांगा. भातलवंडे सरांच्या इथं केबिनला अर्जंट. हा सर पाठवलेत सर. हॅलो सर. हो लगेच 1-5. नाही आता माझं लेक्चर संपलं की मी पण जातो सर. नाही मी जातो, मी पण सांगतो सर. नाही सांगतो लगेच सांगतो. Sorry, there is one Ashadi program is there. Sorry, Kartik Yatra program is there, and we have provided one software solution to them. Data entry work is going on. Okay. So apart from this, Vedang, your question is what I understood. If it is correct or wrong, you can just modify it. You are saying that we have so many models like waterfall model, prototype model, iterative model, spiral model, RUP, time boxing model, agile model, and DevOps model, for example. So which model I need to select? That was your question.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the model selection will be based on the 2 important factors. The first is whether you are clear with requirement or not. The first scenario. It means whether you are much aware की तुमच्या प्रोजेक्ट मध्ये काय करायचं आहे, म्हणजे किती रिक्वायरमेंट्स आहेत हे जर तुम्हाला फिक्स माहित असेल तर तुम्ही मॉडेल सिलेक्ट करू शकता तुमचं. फॉर एक्झाम्पल RUP घेऊ शकता किंवा टाइम बॉक्सिंग घेऊ शकता किंवा अजाईल मॉडेल घेऊ शकता. जर तुमच्या रिक्वायरमेंट्स फिक्स नसतील, रिक्वायरमेंट्स तुमच्या चेंज होणार आहेत किंवा कस्टमरला माहित नसेल की एक्झॅक्टली असंच पाहिजेत का, तर इट सेज दॅट यू स्टार्ट विथ सिंपल वॉटरफॉल मॉडेल. आता मग वॉटरफॉल मॉडेल सिलेक्ट करायचं का प्रोटोटाइप मॉडेल सिलेक्ट करायचा, ह्याच्यामध्ये पण परत वेगवेगळ्या क्रायटेरिया येऊ शकतो. जसं मी तुम्हाला सांगितलं, एक रिक्वायरमेंट. नाही तुम्ही जावा, मी त्यांना सांगतो. एक अर्धा तासाचं काम आहे तिथं. फक्त काय झालंय, ते सॉफ्टवेअर जे आपण पोलीस बंदोबस्ताचं बनवलं होतं त्याचा डेटा क्रॅश झालाय. फक्त डेटा टाईप करून द्यायचं त्यांना. 300 लोकांचा डेटा जास्त नाहीये. ते झालं की येऊन बसा. इथं काय आलं तर त्यांना मॅनेज करायला सांगतो. फास्ट. So when we thinking the first part as a requirements, जेव्हा तुमच्या requirements fix असतील, the choice is to go with your incremental model. When requirements are not fixed, simply focus on your simple model of your either waterfall model or prototype model. जेव्हा तुमच्या रिक्वायरमेंट फिक्स नसतील, कारण रिक्वायरमेंट फिक्स झाल्याशिवाय तुम्ही मॉड्यूल फिक्स नाही करू शकत. आणि तुमचे इटरेटिव्ह जेवढे काही मॉड्यूल्स आहेत, म्हणजे ज्याला आपण म्हणू शकतो ते डेव्हलपमेंट कशानुसार होणार आहे, तुमच्या मॉड्यूल्स नुसार होणार आहे. इथे काय होतं, वॉटरफॉल मॉडेलमध्ये किंवा प्रोटोटाइप मॉडेलमध्ये तुमच्या रिक्वायरमेंट फिक्स नाहीयेत, म्हणजे तुमचे मॉड्यूल पण फिक्स नाहीयेत. तुमचे मॉड्यूल फिक्स नाहीयेत म्हणजे तुम्ही कस्टमरने जे काही दिलंय त्याच्यावर तुम्ही काम करायला चालू करताय. जर प्रोजेक्टची तुमच्या कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी कमी असेल, when your project complexity is less, you start implementing simply waterfall model. जर तुमच्या प्रोजेक्टची कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी जास्त असेल, यू स्टार्ट विथ द प्रोटोटाइप मॉडेल. गेटिंग व्हॉट आय एम सेइंग? म्हणजे सेकंड फॅक्टर आपल्याला काय कन्सिडर करायचं आहे, एक रिक्वायरमेंट फिक्स आहेत का नाही, आणि दुसरा फॅक्टर आपल्याला कन्सिडर करायचा आहे तो म्हणजे प्रोजेक्टची कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी. कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी म्हणजे आपल्याला काय म्हणता येईल त्याला, तुमचा प्रोजेक्ट किती अवघड आहे, म्हणजे प्रॅक्टिकली इम्प्लिमेंट करणं किती अवघड आहे. एखादा सिम्पल प्रोजेक्ट, जसं आता मी तुम्हाला सांगितलं, राईट अ प्रोग्राम टू गो फॉर अन ऍडिशन ऑफ 2 numbers, यू कॅन इझिली राईट, म्हणजे त्याची कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी कमी आहे. पण मी जर तुम्हाला म्हटलं राईट अन अ प्रोग्राम फॉर आयडेंटिफाईंग ऑर परफॉर्मिंग ऍडिशन ऑफ एनी नंबर, मग मी एखादा निगेटिव्ह नंबर देईल किंवा मी नॉन इंटिजर नंबर देईल, एनी कॉम्बिनेशन आय कॅन एबल टू गिव्ह. त्याच्यासाठीची तुमची काय वाढली, लॉजिक जरी सेम असेल पण त्याची कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी वाढली. मग त्या कॉम्प्लेक्सिटीसाठी तुम्ही सेम अल्गोरिदम इम्प्लिमेंट नाही करू शकत. गेटिंग व्हॉट आय एम सेइंग? मग त्या केसमध्ये तुम्हाला थोडंसं प्रोटोटाइप मॉडेल कडे जावं लागेल, लाईक दिस. गेटिंग?
Yes, sir.
Any other question regarding first chapter?
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Can you repeat RUP model?
Yes, definitely. RUP stands for rational. Am I audible? My screen is visible.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I got one message on screen. Okay. What I am saying, RUP which stands for simply rational unified process. Actually, this concept was invented by IBM. RUP was initially started implementation at one software company called as what? IBM. So many times it is known as IBM RUP model. It works with simply 4 phases. What are that 4 phases? Inception, elaboration, construction, and transition. Only the 4 phases. As the name suggests, in inception, what we will think, what end user is looking for, understand, integrate with your end user, understand it as a part of inception. Inception means start, project ची तुमच्या start कशाने करताय तुम्ही, कस्टमर बरोबर इंटरॅक्शन करून. म्हणजे जे काही इंटरॅक्शन होईल त्याला मी म्हणतो सिम्पली ऍज अ इन्सेप्शन. एलॅबरेशन मध्ये काय करायचं आपल्याला, ते जेवढं लेवलने नेता येईल आपल्याला तेवढ्या लोएस्ट, म्हणजे ज्याला आपण म्हणू शकतो डिटेल्स तुम्ही फाइंड आउट करा, त्याला आपण काय म्हणतोय, एलॅबरेशन. नेक्स्ट स्टेज काय तुमची, कन्स्ट्रक्शन. एकदा एलॅबरेशन झालं म्हणजे तुमचे डिटेल आउट तिथं झाले की त्याच्यावर तुम्ही काय करा, प्रोजेक्ट इम्प्लिमेंट करा. दॅट इम्प्लिमेंटेशन आय एम कॉलिंग ऍज अ सिम्पली कन्स्ट्रक्शन. आणि ते झालं की टेस्ट करा. जर टेस्ट रिझल्ट ओके असतील तर प्रोडक्ट तुम्ही हँडओव्हर करा. दॅट इज व्हॉट ट्रान्झिशन. आता मी ज्यावेळेस इन्सेप्शन, एलॅबरेशन, कन्स्ट्रक्शन आणि ट्रान्झिशन म्हणतोय, इथं काय होतंय, तुमची सॉफ्टवेअर डेव्हलपमेंट लाईफ सायकल पूर्ण होतीये. कशी होते बघा, आय विल शो यू. Inception, elaboration. Next I will show you as construction. So this process will be repeated in the terms of your entire software development life cycle. So your very basic stage you are starting as a first analysis part. Sorry, from this place, analysis. Second phase is, I'll just change the color for understanding here, as a design. Next stage you can think as a coding. Next as a testing, and next as a simply your regular deployment. Okay, so this is what your SDLC, regular SDLC. This regular SDLC process will be repeated in all the sectors. This process will be repeated in inception. Once you complete the inception process, you will go for the elaboration stage. Now, in inception, what you are going to do basically, you will think that whether all the aspects customer is said is available in my product or not. That is what only the inception. When you go for the elaboration, you will repeat this process, but not to what only the inception has done, will with an extension. म्हणजे जसं इथं कस्टमर म्हटलं तुम्हाला की ओनली आय एम लुकिंग फॉर addition as the first requirement. For example, in elaboration, you will think about all perspectives of the additions. मग ऍडिशन कसं करायचंय तुम्हाला, त्या ऍडिशनचे कसे घेणार आहेत तुम्ही व्हॅल्यू, त्या व्हॅल्यू कुठं स्टोअर करणार आहात, त्याचा रिझल्ट कुठं स्टोअर करणार आहात, लॉजिकली तुम्ही सगळ्या गोष्टी डिटेल मध्ये डिस्कस करताय कुठं तुम्ही एलॅबरेशन स्टेज मध्ये. आणि हे एकदा कंप्लीट झालं, एलॅबरेशन तुमचं त्या अँगलने कंप्लीट झालं, म्हणजे आपल्याला असं म्हणता येईल इन्व्हेस्टिगेशन तुमचं इथे कंप्लीट झाल्यानंतरच तुम्ही त्याचं डेव्हलपमेंट स्टार्ट करणार आहे, तोपर्यंत नाही. ही प्रोसेस झाली तुमची RUP, रॅशनल युनिफाईड प्रोसेस. लक्षात येत आहे? प्रत्येक फेजचं त्याच्यामध्ये मिनिंग तुम्ही चेक करू शकता, इन्सेप्शन, एलॅबरेशन, कन्स्ट्रक्शन आणि ट्रान्झॅक्शन. आणि ही प्रोसेस तुमची थ्रू आउट चालते. जी तुमची रेग्युलर सॉफ्टवेअर डेव्हलपमेंट प्रोसेस आहे, इट रन्स कंटिन्युअसली थ्रू आउट द 4 फेजेस. इन्सेप्शन असेल, एलॅबरेशन असेल, कन्स्ट्रक्शन असेल आणि ट्रान्झिशन असेल. इथं ही प्रोसेस परत 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 रिपीट होती. म्हणून हे सुद्धा मॉडेल इन्क्रिमेंटल मॉडेलचाच सिनॅरो आहे. फक्त याच्यामध्ये इटरेशन्स जे देतोय आपण, ते इटरेशन्स 4 फेजेस मध्ये देतोय. जसं अजाईल मॉडेल मध्ये पण आपण इटरेशन्स देतोय, तो कशात देतोय, स्प्रिंट, SPRINT, स्प्रिंट मध्ये देतोय. एवढं लक्षात ठेवा. इज दिस पार्ट क्लिअर? I hope I answered your query. Yes or no? Hello. Any other question regarding first chapter overall? Any question regarding the first unit what we have completed?
Sir, can you repeat agile process model?
What I said to you, whenever we are thinking about the agile, the meaning of agile is a dynamic. Dynamic means regular standard process is defined, and whatever defined only we have to follow. But in agile, it is allowing us to go for beyond whatever written you can take into the consideration. That is called as what? Agile. Now, meaning of while implementation of agile, what happens is we will go with the analysis as regular first stage, then designing, then coding, and then testing. If test results okay, we will go for the review. We will go for the review. If test results are okay, we will go for the review. Review means you will interact with the customer, we will interact with team, not only customer, with the team also. बघा आता मी शिकवतोय आणि मी तुमच्याकडून इनपुट घेतोय की काय चेंजेस पाहिजे आणि त्या चेंजेस नुसार मी परत माझ्या टीचिंग मध्ये मी ते डिसाइड करतोय. ओके बाबा मी कंटिन्युअसली इंग्लिश बोललो, मोनोटोनस होऊ शकतं, मग मला थोडंसं मराठीत बोललं पाहिजे. एखादा कन्सेप्ट मी इंग्लिश मध्ये सांगितला पण तो कळला नाही म्हणून मी मराठीत सांगितला आणि मग पुन्हा एकदा इंग्लिश मध्ये सांगितला. म्हणजे मी काय करतोय, माझं कामच करतोय कुठलं, टू कीप यू एंगेज. मला टीचिंग लर्निंग प्रोसेस करायची, दिलेल्या टाइम मध्ये मला तुम्हाला इंग्लिश ठेवायचं, पण मेन काम काय आहे, तुम्हाला ऍक्टिव्हली इन्व्हॉल्व करून एंगेज करायचं. मग मी विचारतोय तुम्हाला समजलंय का नाही आणि त्यानुसारच मग मी पुढे जातोय. दिस इज काइंड ऑफ अ डायनॅमिक व्हॉट आय एम डुईंग, इन्व्हॉल्विंग whoever involved in my project up to their satisfaction. If it is okay, then I will go for the next. So each process what I am repeating here, I am calling as a simply sprint. हे इटरेटिव्ह मॉडेलच आहे, नथिंग बट ह्याच्यामध्ये काय करतोय आपण, हे पूर्ण मॉडेल आपण डायनॅमिक ठेवतोय. सॉरी. आता डेव्हलपमेंट टीम म्हणजे अजून कोणीतरी माझ्या बरोबर काम करतोय आणि त्यांनी मला सांगितलं की आपण लास्ट टाइम असं केलं होतं, मग ह्याच्या जागी आपण दुसरा एखादा लॉजिक वापरू शकतो का. म्हणजे काय केलं, मी सांगितलं होतं त्याच्यापेक्षा थोडंसं वेगळं लॉजिक मी वापरतोय आणि त्यानं ते चेक करतोय मी एक्सपेक्टेड रिझल्ट येत आहेत का नाही. हे सपोर्ट करतंय तुमचं अजाईल मॉडेलमध्ये. बाकीच्या कुठल्या मॉडेलमध्ये हे सपोर्ट होत नाही का, तर तिथं प्रत्येक गोष्टीला तुमच्या ऑथॉरिटी कडून येते आणि तीच गोष्ट तुम्हाला रिपीट करावी लागते. इव्हन टेस्टिंग मध्ये सुद्धा मला टेस्टर म्हणून काम करताना काय करायचंय, दिलेल्या कोडला फक्त मी दिलेलंच इनपुट देणार आहे, वेगळं इनपुट सुद्धा देऊन मला चेक करायचं नाहीये. जे स्टँडर्ड इनपुट दिलेलं आहे त्या इनपुट नुसारच चेक करणं. इथं काय होतं अजाईल मध्ये, तुम्ही दिलेलं इनपुट तर आहेच स्टँडर्ड, पण थोडंसं नॉन स्टँडर्ड व्हॅल्यूज पण इनपुट देऊन तुम्ही टेस्ट करा. हे होतं अजाईल मध्ये, म्हणून ह्याला म्हणतात डायनॅमिक मॉडेलिंग. इथंही सगळं तुमचं सेम अनालिसिस, डिझायनिंग, कोडिंग, टेस्टिंग, तुमची एसडीएलसीच इम्प्लिमेंट होते. एसडीएलसी इम्प्लिमेंट होताना रिपीटिव्ह मॅनर मध्ये होते, म्हणून ह्याला रिपीटिव्ह म्हणजे त्याला आपण इटरेटिव्ह मॉडेलिंगच म्हणतोय. पण त्या इटरेटिव्ह मॉडेलिंग मध्ये अजून थोडं डायनॅमिक आपण ऍड करतोय. दॅट इज नथिंग बट सिम्पली व्हॉट वी कॅन से युअर अजाईल मॉडेलिंग. आता आरयूपी आणि अजाईल मध्ये जर काय डिफरन्स फाइंड आउट करायचा असेल, जसं मी तुम्हाला सांगितलं की तिथं तुमची पूर्ण प्रोजेक्टसाठी तुम्ही तुमचं मॉडेलिंग डिसाइड करताय. इथं तुम्हाला काय करायचं आहे, तर त्या मॉडेलिंग करताना तुमचा प्रोजेक्ट वेगवेगळ्या पार्ट्स मध्ये डिवाइड असेल आणि त्या पर्टिक्युलर पार्टसाठी, कारण तुमच्या टीम ज्या आहेत त्या इथं पॅरलल वर्क करणार आहेत आणि त्या टीम नुसार तुम्हाला बिहेव करायचंय. आरयूपी मध्ये सुद्धा तुमच्या टीम्स असतील, पण त्या टीमचं प्रत्येकाचं काम ठरलेलं आहे. इथं काय होतंय, कम्प्लीट तुमची टीम इंटिग्रेटेड आहे. हा डिफरन्स फक्त लक्षात ठेवा. आय होप आय क्लिअर द आन्सर. Is it clear? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good. Any other query, question from your side? Done. I will take attendance from automatically. I hope you all are following the naming convention systems. Attendance I could able to see is only 110. Almost 30 students are absent. Almost half an hour is remaining. What I will do, rather going for the next chapter, I will give you a test. Small test is there, online test. Only 15 questions are there. I'll share the link. Stay here. Appear for the test, and After the test, if time permits, we will discuss on the answers of the test. Or next lecture, again, we will discuss on that test questions and we will start with the chapter 2. I'll share the test link on group, our WhatsApp group. So we can leave now. Any question? But before that, from your side, any question for today's session? Reply something, yes, no.
No, sir.
Okay, we'll take a pause here. Okay, thank you.